How are you?
Hey, good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning. It's good
Good
afternoon in my neck of the
morning.
woods, but morning for you. It's bright and sunny and gorgeous here. We had freezing rain last night. It
Oh,
was so
wow.
cold. I ran out to do an errand. I had to completely chip the ice off of my car. And it is beginning of November. So if somebody's watching this later on and they don't know when it is, it's November in Ontario with ice.
Yes. And it's November in BC. And I've only had one winter here, but last winter I never had to chip ice off my car.
Don't even. Just make me jealous left, right, and center.
Yeah.
So, BC.
Yeah.
I love BC. I'm looking forward. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go back many more times, hopefully, and discover more.
Yeah. I hope so.
I've only been there once. Anyway. Well, so what's new in your neck of the woods? Anything going on?
What a question.
What a question.
I will share for our listeners when we started the recording yesterday for an episode, Carolyn asked me that question and I just like froze. I was like, what? Because something kind of big did happen, but I wasn't prepared for the question. And I was like, okay, I need to think about it. What do I say? So we had a little discussion around it. So the same question is today.
Well, and I love the way you were just like shut down immediately, and you're like, "Oh, I can't
What?
do this. We need to can we restart
Oh,
the recording?" And
restart the recording. What? I don't know. What am I supposed to say? Anyways, new. So yes, and thank you for asking. And because yesterday I got some really exciting news that I've been chosen to participate in an interview style TV show that is aired by CBC. And I don't know, I'm recording it next month in December. They're going to fly me to Montreal.
nice.
And yeah, I'm not sure when it's going to air or if I'm the only one on the episode, if there will be other people. So it's interview style. And it's kind of funny because I had over 2 hours of Zoom meeting with the researcher as they were interviewing me to decide if they wanted to have me on the show. And there were a lot of different things that came up, my mental health journey, which is the premise of why they contacted me about depression and whatnot. But then there's also my book, and then there's also my childhood, and then there's also the whole crime aspect of my Aunt Linda's case.
Mhm.
So I don't really know what they're going to be focusing on and talking about on the show. And I suspect that they will not give me much of a heads up because the premise of the show, and the show is called You Can't Ask That,
Oh, I love that. I love
right?
that.
It started in Australia 7 or 8 years ago, and then CBC picked it up a couple of years ago. And I think they took a significant break over COVID. Honestly, I haven't done that much research into it. And the premise is they ask the questions that most people wouldn't have the guts to ask.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure what tactic or what topic they're going to want to explore. I'm just gonna have to roll with it.
This is just great practice for you because you never know what
Right?
I'm going to ask you. Although
I know.
I haven't gone into too many like super personal things, but we have
Well,
touched
so
base on
so
a few
maybe you should
things.
practice. Maybe you should, maybe you should up the ante a little bit and pretend that you're the interviewer for that. You can't ask that. So those little questions that pop into your head where you think, "Oh fuck, I can't ask her that." Do it. And I might say, "I'm not answering that." I don't think they're going to like it too much if I say that on the show, but
It's gonna be such a great experience,
it will
honestly.
be fun.
Like,
It will be fun and interesting. Yes.
yeah,
So
and
so
it's just
that's
like
what's new.
and it's just the next step on the journey. Like you and I, when we did our very first episode, we were saying to sort of the listening audience that we don't know what we're doing. We're just using Zoom. I'm as we're learning to do podcasting and YouTubing type things. There's going to be iterations as we go along. We recognize we need a mic. You have a mic now. I'm going to buy a mic. We're not buying the most expensive mic because we don't know how long this will last. But all these little things, and we're recording on Zoom. And I know that I was just learning today that there's better platforms that we could be recording on that are more conducive to podcasts. But then how much money do you want to spend on it? So I just want to encourage anyone watching or listening that just start doing your stuff. And like, even
Yeah.
with this project, this new project, that's a scary thing going on TV and being, but it's part of all the baby steps that you're taking to get to where you want to go, because this is the journey too, right? We need to enjoy where we're at. So
Yeah. And we need to start somewhere. And that's the most important thing. You nailed it, is to just take the first step and start. Do it. And you can make adjustments and, get better and improve as you go along. It's not only the financial investment for me, and I think I can speak for you too in this regard, it's the technological learning investment. And it's not insignificant to have to learn all new platforms and forums and even how all the things about the YouTube accounts work, right? Brand accounts, personal accounts, the banners,
it's
and
everything.
iMovie. Like,
Everything.
it's a lot. And you know what? Let's celebrate our wins, because we have, in the last couple of weeks, we have learned a shit ton about all that stuff. And yes, there's so much more to learn, and always better, ways to improve, and we're doing it. Right?
Exactly. And I'm so aware, it seems that all the YouTube videos I'm currently watching to help me do these things are of beautiful humans in their 20s, likely probably early 30s, who are just freaking hitting it out of the ballpark in this area, knowing how to do the content and everything else. Maybe one day we'll be able to hire somebody like that on, but for now, you got me and I got you, and this is not our
like the
forte.
Sonny and Cher. I got you, babe. I got you, babe.
And it's not like my background, we're doing a renovation right now, so this is the best of my background out of my whole house. It is what it is. It's not the most beautiful, but you know what, we're just going to roll with it. And that's part of life, is just all these little wins, just moving forward baby steps at a time. And yeah, we've given each other a lot of high fives, haven't we?
Yes, we have. And I love that. Yeah, we just do
And a
it.
lot of laughs, like
Right?
the program that you wanted to correct our eyes so that we're
Oh,
looking at the camera made me
that
look
was
like I was
hilarious.
like drunk. Like I can't even
You
do
look,
it.
it reminded me of that scene from The Exorcist where her eyes roll all the way back in her head. You were on the cusp. Your eyes were
And it's like the whole thing's like this. Like it's
so
just
far up and to the side. It was so unnatural. It's like that's not eye contact.
we're like, maybe this isn't the program for us. This might
No,
not be
no,
the program for
right?
us.
Yeah.
But all these little things. So anyway, today I wanted to jump into your chapter called The Denial Trail. I think it's called The Denial Trail. Yes. No, is it?
Ooh.
I'm in resentment
Yep.
parking lot here. The
The
Denial
denial
Trail.
trails.
And I'm
Yeah.
hoping that you could read from page 189 at the bottom to the next page, just the first couple paragraphs. I thought that might be a nice way to start it off, unless you want to explain what the denial trail is and then read. It's up to you. You know your
Well, I
chapter.
think, the place is the town is Victim Town, and this location is the Denial Trails. I think are fairly self-explanatory to get started. So
Okay.
I'll read as you requested.
Yes.
Here we go. We all show up here to avoid something. It could be a difficult task, our worries, conflict, certain people, shit that's happening, our dreams, the consequences of our actions, tragic events, what we believe, being vulnerable, facing facts, expectations, doing something we might regret, how we look, being excluded, tough conversations, what we really want, current problems, judgment, bad memories, who we really are, what people think of us, our fears, what's not happening, having to provide answers, facing our shame, being wrong, admitting something we've done, the truth, our inability to control something, our faults, needing something or someone, owning our stories, things we can't change, our bad habits, disappointment, reality, or even the voices in our head. Phew, long sentence. It boils down to this. We usually end up on the denial trails to avoid difficult feelings like pain, grief, shame, reaction, failure, hate, embarrassment, hopelessness, guilt, or anger. It's hard to feel that shit. Nobody likes it. You may be surprised to learn that we also come here to learn, we also come here to avoid great feelings like acceptance, joy, success, accomplishment, even love.
I like that last part because we don't often equate that that those great feelings that we try to sometimes avoid them too.
Well, and that's the thing about feelings. When we are in the habit from our childhood shit and the voices in our head and the meanings we made up and the beliefs we adopted and then the coping mechanisms like things we do on the denial trails
Mhm.
are to avoid our hard feelings, the pain, the hurt. But when we train our bodies and our hearts to avoid those feelings, we don't realize it, but we also are training our bodies to avoid the really great feelings, right? I
Mhm.
mean, a feeling's a feeling, and if we're not in tune with letting those things come up, then we don't feel the good stuff too,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
when we don't believe that we're worthy and deserving of those good feelings and celebrating our accomplishments and letting people in and letting people see us and love us, that we end up on the denial trails for those reasons too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had a lot of experience on the trails. I have a pair of hiking boots that are so old, and they really are like, they're the old school hiking boots, with the red laces and like the that kind of caramely colored
Yeah.
cowhide almost,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
they weigh a freaking ton. I mean, they're so outdated. Nobody would want to hike anywhere in them now. They're the same hiking boots that are on the cover of Reese Witherspoon
Oh
played
yeah.
Cheryl
Yeah.
Strayed in about her journey on the Pacific Trail. Actually, I have those same kind of hiking boots, and they literally are so worn and threadbare. And I liken those to my time on the denial trails. And we all do different things there. It's where we drink wine and binge watch Netflix, yes, but some people opt to exercise or work or shop or gamble or you know whatever it is that takes us somewhere else and occupies our mind and our heart so that we don't have to feel,
Mm.
right?
And I think it's important to point out, like, because exercise can seem like a good thing. Even
Yeah,
I had the idea of volunteering, people that volunteering is a good thing. What's wrong with that? But if you use it in to suppress what you're feeling,
right.
you know what I mean? Like,
Then
then
it's
you're
not.
still not dealing with the issue. So it's almost like we've got the down and out and the up and out. So you've got the self-righteous people who are like, well, I'm volunteering and I'm doing all these good things, I'm fine. And then the down and out of like the obvious, I'm an alcoholic and I need to go to rehab. One's applauded in society and one's sort of looked down upon perhaps, or frowned upon perhaps, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. We're all just
It's just a
suppressing it
judgment
all.
thing. Yeah. And we
Mhm.
all, we all, depending on our, personality traits and our experiences, we all do different things. Right. So the denial trails, as I write about it, it offers something for everyone. And yeah, we all approach it differently. And anything to excess, and as you said, when it's used for the purpose of avoiding feelings, it's not good.
Yeah.
Doesn't serve us.
Yeah. Totally. So there's a couple different terms and metaphors, I guess, the analogies that you use: the dirt bag, slippery slope. Can you explain what some of these kind of ideas are within the denial trail?
Yeah, sure. So the dirt bags are the people on the trails. They work for the trail system. They're like concierge. And for every place in Victim Town, I've given that voice a name. And on the denial trails, that voice in our head that says, you don't need to think about it, right? Just have a few drinks, settle down, don't worry about it, whatever, disappear, solve itself. And not to say that sometimes problems don't solve themselves, because they absolutely can. But I mean, long-term feelings and big shit that you just don't want to deal with. That the voice that encourages that and tells you that's the right thing to do, that's the dirtbag talking in your head. And yeah, the slippery slopes are, I think, fairly obvious when it comes to addictive substances. No matter what that is, there's a slippery slope to that, and with some substances more than others. But there's a slippery slope too to to gambling, and like whatever it is that is being used in excess for that purpose. There's a point beyond which it's really far more challenging to recover from.
Mm-hmm.
That's the slippery slope, and where things are out of control. So awareness is always the first step in whatever change we want to make to our lives. And recognizing that you're on the denial trails, having that awareness is the first step. And when you know where you are, then you can formulate a plan to get out, right?
Yeah.
It's not to say that a short visit on the denial trails is a bad thing, because like all the places in Victim Town, sometimes we go there for a short time to gather our wits and make a plan, and that's not a bad thing. You want to go for a short hike to catch your breath and get your ducks in a row so that you can feel all the feelings and find the resources you need to help support you in whatever it is that is, whatever shitstorm is going on that you're trying to navigate. That's not the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
It's when we get stuck there, like all of the places, that things go bad. Yes.
Yeah, I love what you said about awareness, because I think it's one of those things, if you can at least be willing to look at the thing that you're avoiding, because you said something about avoiding. You said, yeah, we do it to avoid, but you said something else. Slap on a backpack after leaving our issues aside. Only the problem is it's temporary. So yeah, so you said, I think the quote was like, the dirt bag will just take your problems and put it aside and lighten your load, and you can go off on the denial trail. We'll store them for you. Right. And I'm doing that right. Yeah. I thought, oh, interesting, then it's just a pile of shit again that you've just swept under the rug. But if you can look at it and like almost like turn and face the monster, face the thing that you fear, right? That's the first step, is just to be acknowledged, like, oh crap. Okay,
yeah,
here we are.
yeah.
But shame and guilt, going back to shame and guilt, the shame and guilt cafe, the maitre d's like, oh no, you don't have a problem. Like, it's all working together to pretend like it's too much to take over, to figure out, to make better.
Yes, and that's the purpose of that shitty voice in our head, is to keep us afraid, right? To keep us afraid of what might happen, to keep us afraid of feeling the pain and dealing with the situation. But on the trails, the reality is, yes, the dirtbags will take your issue and they will store it for you while you hop on the trails. However, it's temporary storage, and you cannot get off the trails without taking that issue with you. And the longer it's been in storage, very, very few issues get better with age. Almost all of them become leaky, yucky, bigger, messier problems the longer they're sitting in the issue building storage. Yes.
And you know what? I think for me, that was my biggest gift in 2020, was the storage container was so full. Do you remember did you ever watch Seinfeld? There was the, the episode where George's wallet was so big it wouldn't fit in his, I think it didn't
Yes.
fit in it was so big. That's me. Like we're just got my problems, everything got so big and my health got so bad. I had to take a look at it. Like it was literally to me the biggest gift. It was the worst time for my family, but also the biggest gift because I had mentioned in a previous episode, I would not have invested the money into somebody privately to some extent to help get me back on that track. And what would have happened is we would have just prolonged how I was feeling longer and longer for sure, 100%. Because for me, it wasn't just a mental issue. It was my physical well-being wasn't my gut health was really bad and it was affecting everything. And it all goes together. Mental, emotional, spiritual usually does all go together, right? Because we're mind, body, emotions,
Yep.
spirit,
Yeah, it
everything.
totally does. Yeah. And you raise a really interesting point. I think that for a lot of people, COVID, because everything stopped, that the issues we had in storage started bubbling up for a lot of people. I know for me, it was a significant, not in the entire thing, but it was probably the biggest factor of how I ended up so depressed and checking myself into the place was those issues that I had stored for so long started bubbling up and leaking out. And it was just too much for me to manage. So for everybody though, I think the reflective time of a lot of those issues, they had the space to not have to be on the denial trails. They had the space to pull them out of storage and to have a look at them and to heal some of them or dispose of them or, whatever unique response they needed at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So that was a gift of COVID.
it was certainly was. Did you have a particular, well, I wanted to say, what was the question? What was the one issue you found a challenge to tackle? But can I add one more caveat, as I always do? Because I
No,
can't just
yes.
ask you a question without having a 5-minute long explanation behind it. We all have a shadow side, right? And that I sort of equate the shadow side to the like sort of the one thing, could be more, but the one thing that we deny that we really actually can't see. And often it's a friend or somebody else that can help us along with that. Did you have anything that was like just so massive you weren't seeing, or did you just kind of figure, let's just work on everything?
I think the biggest piece of that was all the shit that went down in my childhood.
Yeah.
I hadn't dealt with any of it. And I didn't deny that it existed and that it happened. What I was denying was the impact it had and how it affected my life as an adult. I didn't make that connection. Yeah. I didn't make that connection.
In addition to that, and I don't want to minimize what you're saying because that's a huge, huge one. You do tell the story of Hawaii
Oh yeah.
in this one, and that was to me that story, and maybe you can just describe it in brief, but that was an interesting story to me because you really didn't even know that you were in denial of acknowledging what happened. Can you just briefly explain what that was?
Yeah. My interpretation in hindsight is very different than at the time. So I was in Hawaii. I think it was 2000 and what year was it? 18.
I think
Okay,
it said
thank
that in
you.
the book.
Yeah, I thought I was going to say 17. 18 when they had the ballistic missile threat. And for about 30 minutes, I believed that I was imminently going to be nuked, that I was going to incinerate. And my response, I mean, at first I was in disbelief. Anyways, you have to read the story. It's kind of a funny story. But when the reality of it actually sunk in, like saw the red ticker tape on the TV, my reaction was, let's go to the beach, smoke a joint, and not think about it. I wanted to be on the incinerate instantly on the front line of it. I didn't want to do the slow burn. There was nowhere to go. We were on a volcanic island. And so I was like, yeah, let's just pretend this isn't happening.
But the thing was, is that after, oh no, it was a mistake, you get on with your vacation, you move on with life. And then when you talk to your therapist about it, she's like, that was a big thing. Did you even stop to acknowledge it? And you're like, oh
No, I
no,
didn't.
because you're so grateful to be alive that you don't acknowledge, oh, that might
Oh
have
yeah,
been
of
something like,
course.
oh,
Yeah,
you
that's
didn't, that's
the big layer of denial too. Oh yeah,
yeah,
so what I just described was the tiny little surface denial, and then yeah, when I realized, and we were safe, it was just a oopsie. Yeah, I just shoved that down, locked it up. I was like, okay, here we are.
yeah.
Glad to be alive. Let's finish our vacation, and that didn't get unpacked for years. Like I want to say 3 or 4 years later before that came up in therapy. And yeah, she was fucking gobsmacked. She's like, what? We haven't talked about that. That's a really big thing.
Yeah.
And so we worked through that, and it took actually multiple sessions, which was a little
Really?
bit surprising, because I hadn't dealt with it, you know?
Oh, wow. Well, and that's just goes to show how evasive it can be. That's why sometimes we need a friend or somebody to just hold that mirror up and go, hey, there might be some things that you're not noticing, because then sometimes friends can notice things in other friends too, right? But you have to have that kind of relationship with somebody that you allow them into your heart that way. You have to feel very safe. And
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
you had, it seems like I mean, I'm sure you had more than Deb, your best friend, but in 2020, before you went to the place, you had Deb to be that person to help you along.
Yes, yes. But to deal with that specific issue, it's funny because I told the story, not a lot, but I did tell the story, but I told it in a humorous, I was actually there kind of way. And yeah, it freaked me out a little bit, but all's well that ends well kind of
Mhm.
thing. And nobody ever asked, did you process that, or were there any other effects from believing that you were going to die for 30 minutes,
Yeah.
and I wasn't ready to think about it. And so the story I told was just, it was a humorous,
Mhm.
kind of anecdote. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap it up now. Thank you so much for explaining all of that to us, and hopefully it's a very full chapter. That was a big chapter. It's twice as long as the chapter beforehand, so I look forward for your listeners to diving into that chapter and all the metaphors and everything as they go through it.
Yeah, I think it's the two chapters that are the longest, the denial trails and the control factory, are that way because those are the two places where I spent the majority of my time.
Mm.
And I think they're also the two places where the majority of people will resonate and not be able to deny that they've also been there
Yeah.
for varying lengths of time. And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. We all do. And I'll be back there again, but I'll hopefully recognize it a lot sooner and get out of there.
It'll be a short-term stay.
A quick little hike, quick little walk in the
A quick
woods.
little hike. Well, and
Yeah.
like as on this healing journey, on this journey to understanding who we are going to have those dips all the time, because we're
100%.
continually evolving as people. We don't want to be
Yes.
stagnant, and so in order to grow, you have to have hard stuff come at
And
you.
shit
And
happens. So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that's
Oh,
it.
that's it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
before we go, I'd like to ask you three questions. Would you
All right.
rather, are you ready? Would
Go.
you rather have more time or more money?
Time.
I'm all for money right now. Would you
Yeah, but what's money? Money's not. Yes, I'm all for more money too. But if you don't have any time, if you don't have the time, then
I
that's
know.
money's NFG, right?
I know. But then you could
You
maybe
can
buy
make
more
money,
time.
but you can make money. You can create money. You cannot create time,
Oh, interesting.
right?
Interesting.
Yes, yes. Time. You cannot buy time.
You cannot buy time. Yeah, yeah. Well, Well, you're gonna have an offline chat about that because the spiritual side of me is like, well, we should really have a chat about time. It's just an
I
illusion. Blah
know.
blah blah.
Yes, I know, and I'm with you there too. That's a whole other
It's a whole
thing.
other conversation that this is not the
Uh,
platform for that. Would you rather have a rewind? Oh, here, this is another. You know what? These questions, they're very similar. I should have just mixed them up a bit. Would you rather have a rewind button or a pause button on your life?
I'm going to say pause. Only pause because that would allow me to be more intentional with my response. The pause is the sweet spot. The rewinding, not to say that there aren't things that I would do differently to do over. There absolutely are. And I now value those experiences as lessons that I needed to learn. So I
Mhm.
wouldn't want to overwrite that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. We are here
Yeah.
where we are
Yes.
because of
Everything that's
all of that.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's meant to be that way. Would you, and this is the last one, would you rather be able to talk with the animals or speak all foreign languages?
Oh, talk with the animals. I could find other ways to communicate with humans, and there's translation things, and but to talk with the animals would be super cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is probably an appropriate platform, but I'll say it anyway. So the one spiritual channel I learn from and I adore, the woman that channels her also obviously not obviously, but has special gifts other than channeling. And one of the things she can do is she has many animals at her home and she can talk with the animals. And she says that they speak English to her. And I'm like, that's just blowing your mind crazy.
What
That
do
she's just
they say?
they'll tell her what's wrong. They'll tell her, she was babysitting one animal and or dog sitting one dog, and they said that they missed the owner.
Mm,
It's too hot. Things like that. Like literally, she just has conversations with them, and I just think most people would think that's absolutely nuts. But considering
I
the
know.
context of what a spiritual channel can do, that's kind of
That makes sense to
crazy as
me.
it is in general anyway. But yeah, to have that gift to be able to do that would be really interesting.
It would be so interesting. I
Yeah.
would love it. And I would love to talk to the bears and the deer and the eagle and so many. Yeah.
Mm.
My cat talks to me. She goes in and out. Every time she comes in, she goes, "Purr." And I know she's saying thank you because she goes in and out a million freaking times a day. But she's very vocal. And in my mind, maybe I just make it up what she's saying to me.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Anyway, well, thank you so much. What a wonderful chat we had. I really appreciate it. And until next time, see
Likewise.
you
All
later.
right.
All
Talk to you
right.
soon.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.